Revenge films.
This is a story about my ex-husband's siblings that even when I recall it, it sounds completely crazy. At the time, I was struggling to get pregnant, and I thought it would be for the best of both of us to go to a clinic to get tested for infertility. I spoke to my husband and asked for us to consider getting infertility treatment, but my husband wouldn't really get on board, and we weren't able to have children. Then, one day, I happened to go to my husband's parents' house for lunch all together with his whole family. And then, my brother's older sister Karen said the most outrageous thing to my other sister-in-law who was with her own sister Kelly.
I heard that you're infertile, right? So why don't I give birth to your baby in your place?
To tell the truth, my younger sister-in-law was also having difficulty getting pregnant like me. But when I heard Karen say this out loud in front of everybody, I was shocked. At first, I thought she was suggesting to be a surrogate mother, but to my disbelief, Karen was actually having an affair with her own little sister's husband. I didn't want to step in too much, but I didn't think that it was right in the situation, so I tried to speak up. But Karen instead snapped at me. She said that, since I don't have any sisters, I couldn't possibly understand what sisterly love is. I looked over at Kelly, wondering how she might have felt about it, and it seemed like she had mixed feelings. She certainly wasn't happy about her older sister and her husband having an affair. But I've known that Kelly had wanted to have children for a while now. I was starting to think that she'd become swayed by her older sister and pressured into it. But if Kelly herself was okay with it, then I didn't think it was my place to say anything further. However, after that, Karen must have not liked that I spoke up against her, and this time she turned over to me.
And first of all, I heard that you are also infertile too, Jessica. So what are you talking about?
She said. Even though I had already explained to her that we didn't know the reason why we weren't able to get pregnant, and that I've been asking my husband to go for an infertility test as well, my sister-in-law decided one-sidedly that my reason must be a lie, and she continued to attack me with all her words about my supposed infertility. Not only that, but after the lunch, we also had a gathering planned with all of the relatives from my husband's family. Once everybody was gathered together, Karen suddenly said to all of the relatives,
"You know, our family wants a first son as soon as possible, but all of the brides in our family are infertile, so it seems like there's nothing we can do about it. They're so useless. I thought that one of them could get married, that they would be able to have kids, but it looks like that's not the case. I wonder if my little brother pulled the short end of the stick with choosing a wife. I feel so bad for him,"
she said out loudly to everybody. Thanks to that, the uncles and the relatives started to chime in.
Oh goodness, you can't even have kids? Then you can barely call yourself a woman.
If you can't even have children, then what use do you have as a wife?
They started to say. Perhaps my husband also didn't want everyone to find out the reason behind the infertility could potentially live with him, so he spoke up as if he was trying to cover for himself.
I know, right? Goodness, I should have chosen more carefully when I had the chance.
That was his response, and I heard something snap inside of me. That was the moment I decided that I was going to divorce my husband, and ultimately, I decided to get revenge on him. The reason why all the relatives were together was because that weekend my husband's cousin was going to get married. Of course, my husband and I are going to attend. In the dressing room, I was making small talk with some of the bride's friends, and I nonchalantly mentioned this. You know, this family really treasures their family and relatives. Can you believe this? My sister-in-law says that she's going to risk her own body for the sake of her own sister. It really is amazing! And they themselves call it true sisterly love. When I said that, the friends seemed confused, and they asked me to explain the situation. So I didn't hold back, and I exposed everything to them. How Karen was having an affair with her own little sister's husband, and that because Kelly was infertile, Karen said that she would get pregnant on her behalf of her little sister. On top of that, I said, actually, I am also in the middle of an infertility treatment, but the doctor says that things seem perfectly normal with my body. I've been asking my husband multiple times to get tested at the clinic, but I guess perhaps I'm at a reverse to those things, and he refuses to go. And then, with tears in my eyes, I told him all of the terrible things that my relatives and my husband said to me at the family gathering the other day. And the bride's friends were shocked.
Wait, what the heck is that? I can't believe it. Even though she's having an affair with her little sister's husband, and now that older sister is going to have a baby?
That's completely disgusting. How is this acceptable? And also, I'm actually receiving infertility treatment as well, but that's something you definitely have to do together as a team with your husband, or else it doesn't work. Your husband should be helping you through it, but instead, I can't believe he took that side of everybody else and blamed you. He's the worst. The conversation started to get heated up, and after that, thanks to the bride's friends, this conversation spread immediately like wildfire throughout the entire venue. At the wedding, of course, all of the relatives from the family gathering were along with my sister-in-law and my husband. Throughout the venue, everybody was whispering about them. After that, my husband's cousins felt really uncomfortable, but I didn't feel bad about it at the time. And that's because the cousin also didn't hesitate to make fun of me. I don't want your infertility germs to be passed on to me like you and Kelly. Any woman who can't have children isn't a real woman. She was saying whatever she wanted to make fun of me, and I wanted to get back at her a little bit, so I had no regrets. After the wedding, I got home, and my husband was furious.
Why are you spreading such weird rumors to everybody? Do you have any idea how much you embarrassed me and my sister and all of our relatives?
He started to yell at me, but to be honest, I had already expected this reaction from him, and I had prepared my response. But I didn't tell a single lie, did I? Everything about your sister is only the truth, and I only spoke facts when it came to the infertility treatment between you and me.
Even still, there's a thing called time and place, and you shouldn't have been saying that there!
Oh, really? When it comes to time and place, then I think your sister Karen was far more rude the other day. Infertility is a very delicate and personal problem, and yet she was saying that in front of all the relatives. Not only that, but you joined in and you chose to make fun of me in front of them as well. And first of all, I've asked you to come to the clinic with me multiple times, and yet you refuse, so there's no lie in that.
Shut up!
Every single time, you have no intention to come in with me whatsoever. And yet, you just continue to run away and make up some excuse that you don't like the way I'm asking you, and continue to put the blame on me.
I don't need a woman like you anymore who talks back to me like this and that can't even give birth to a child. We're getting a divorce.
Even though there's no way of telling whether the infertility actually lies within me, unless we were both to be tested at the fertility clinic, my husband seemed to want to insist to his grave that I was the one that was infertile. I didn't need my husband to tell me twice. I had already decided that I wanted to divorce him anyway, so I didn't hesitate to gather my belongings and I left the house as quickly as possible. My parents lived in a different state out in the suburbs, and it was far from here, so I had already rented out a furnished apartment temporarily. But then one day, when I was on my way back home to gather the rest of my belongings, I unfortunately ran into my sister-in-law in town, and then she started to verbally attack me.
You've got some nerve talking about me to people like that. A good-for-nothing woman like you is never going to be happy as long as you're alive. It's no surprise that my little brother threw you away.
It wasn't exactly that I was thrown away, but it was a waste of my time and energy to deal with people like this, and I no longer wanted to be involved with Karen, so I just ignored her and walked away. The divorce with my ex-husband went smoothly. However, he continued to tell people that the reason was because I was infertile, and I wasn't able to have children. He told everybody that the reason for the divorce was because I wasn't able to give birth to the heir. But I had my own job, and I didn't have any concerns about money. I just wanted to forget about all of it. That's why I didn't bother to try to fix those rumors, and I just wanted to leave it all behind. 5 years after all that, now I have 3 children, 1 boy and a set of twins. Of course, they were all children that I gave birth naturally. Sometime after I divorced my ex-husband, I met a man at my company who kindly expressed his feelings for me, and we began to date. At that time, I made sure to tell him ahead of time that I may not ever be able to have children, but he said that he didn't mind, and he still wanted to be with me, and that's why we began dating. That man said that he wanted to date me with marriage in the near future, and not long after we started dating, we were engaged, and then we got married. Both of my new husband's parents had already passed away, and he assured me that I wouldn't need to feel any sort of pressure about having children on that end. Thanks to him, I was very much at ease. However, in just 3 months after we got married, we discovered that I was pregnant. Not only that, but with twins. I was overwhelmed with emotion of happiness and shock, but then time continued to fly by and I gave birth to 2 healthy babies. Not long after that, I became pregnant again, and now I'm the happiest mother of 3 beautiful children. For the record, I heard a rumor that my ex-husband got remarried after that, but that he still wasn't able to have children. Back when we got divorced, he had been trashing me to everybody around him, that it was my infertility that he wasn't able to have kids. But now that he was remarried and still didn't have children, everybody seemed to notice that it was actually his fault. Apparently his new wife got tired of not being able to have children and being blamed for it, and she ended up leaving him as well. As for my ex-sister-in-law, in the end, Kelly wasn't able to forgive her older sister for having an affair with her own husband, and it turned into a big problem. Apparently they went to court, and the trial was a war zone. The cousin as well ended up being infertile herself, and I heard that she was on the verge of divorce. As for Karen, after she laid hands on her own little sister's husband, and on top of that said something so outrageous as to give birth to their baby in her place, she became known around the town as a crazy woman. No man would go near her anymore either, and apparently she's still single. For some reason, it feels like my ex-husband and all of his family members are having a big stroke of misfortune. But that was no surprise to me. I wish I could gather them all in one room again and say, take that.
How was today's video? If you enjoyed it, please subscribe, like, and leave a comment. Stay tuned for more.